Thanks for tuning into the channel. Have you ever wondered what it's like being a Turo host? Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you my day to day so you can get some knowledge if you're thinking about joining Turo. But before I get into it, I'm going to ask for a big favor. Smash the like button, leave some comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also, everything that I use for Turo make my life easier, I went and put the links in the description box below. That way you can check it out and you can get some of these things. So when you start Toro, you're already ahead of the game. Now let's go ahead and get into the main reason you're watching. My day as a host is always changing. And what that means is I don't know who's going to book the cars that I have on the platform. I don't know what their questions are going to be. I don't know how much help they're going to have. I don't even know what's going to, what's going to happen with each guest when the cars are on the road. Sometimes nothing happens. Well, let me rephrase that. The majority of times nothing happens and everything goes smoothly. And that's great. But every now and then I get a surprise, I get a hiccup, and I get something to come my way. And I'm going to get into that. But first, the most important thing that you need is this phone on you. You need a phone on you. Well, obviously, this is my phone, but you need your phone on you. And the reason is when you have your car on the platform, you never know when that booking's going to come in, right? You got your car listed. You can't, especially, I remember when I first started Toro, and now I've been on Toro for a little over 2 years. But when I first started the page and I put my car, I was excited and nervous, and I couldn't wait to get that booking. Right. So I kept checking my phone and finally that booking came in. I'm excited, not really sure what to do, but I figured it out as I went. But that's why you need your phone. You can come in at any time. And because a booking can come in at any time, it's very important that you go on trip preference and select a trip buffer that's going to work for you. I don't know what your schedule is. I don't know if you're going to have someone help you. Now, you may be wondering, what's my trip preference? How do I do it? Well, I do a 3-hour window. And what that means is so I can get my course booked the same day I get them back. And I have to be able to turn them around as quickly as 3 hours. Now, you don't have to do 3 hours. You could do 6 hours. You could do 12 hours. You could do 24 hours. You get to pick. Right now, I do at 3 because I think that'll help me get more bookings. And that's my goal. I want to get these cars on the road, but I have help. So that's how it works with my 9 to 5. I have help with my girlfriend and her job and my job. We can work around this. Now, you may not be in the same situation and you may need a 24-hour window. I think a 24-hour window is good if you're just doing it completely by yourself and you have a 9 to 5. That way you have enough time to come home, get the car ready. You're not stressing yourself out and you can get it ready for the booking that you have. Now, that's just my opinion. That's just my tip. You may need longer than that. I don't know. Hopefully that, that recommendation, if that is your case, that you're just doing it solo, helps you out. Now, if you have help, or you can have help by maybe a boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe a family member, a friend, whatever, whoever could help you, then maybe you could do a shorter time, like me, 3 hours, 6 hours, whatever you think is going to work for you. Because believe it or not, there are times I get bookings in advance where I have 24 hours or I have 2 days. And there are times where I get a car back and I get it booked that same day, so I got to turn it around. Now, this is up to you if you want to do deliveries or not. I do deliveries because I like to do contactless and I use the airport. The reason I use the airport is because I'm close to the airport. And what happens is I have guests drop off the car at the airport, and there's times I get a booking that same day and they need the car right away. So they booked it. I only have that 3-hour window to turn it around. That means I got to get to the airport. I got to find the car. I got to do the checkout. And I got to get it cleaned and turn around for the next person. And sometimes the person that booked the car at the airport only needed it for a few hours, because you can do 1 day or you can do 2 days. You get to set that also. So you can make a requirement that if someone's not going to book your car for 2 days or more, you don't want to rent it. And some people like me do 1 days. I do 1 days. I get more bookings that way. I make more money. I've tested out both and it works for me, the 1 days. And what happens is there are times that I get it booked, and when I go check that car, even the ones that are just 1 days, that you sometimes you're going to assume, hey, this person just booked the car for a 1 day. As a matter of fact, they had it less than 24 hours. This car is going to be easy to turn around. And sometimes that is the case. Sometimes the car, you get it clean, it's easy to turn around. and those are great. Those are the good times. Sometimes they only had the car for a few hours, and you're like, what did they do to this car? They had a party in here, and it looks like they picked up trash and threw it in the car, and that was their goal, was to trash the car. You're like, what happened here? I got empty water bottles, I got wrappers, I got sand in the car, handprints on the windows, there's finger marks on the roof of the car. You're like, what's going on in here? There's maybe they went to McDonald's and left some of the wrappers as well. That's just an example, like food wrappers, and you're like, what did they do? Right? They didn't really treat the car with love or how they should. And unfortunately, this is something that you're most likely going to run into being a host. I've run into it. I've talked to other hosts, they've run into it. I almost want to say it's most likely going to happen to you, right? You have to be very lucky if you're going to be on the platform for a long time and not run into these cases. What does that mean? That means you're going to need more time now cleaning that car and getting it ready for your next guest. Also, there's times where they don't bring it back with fuel. Now, this is a good thing because you're going to make $10 off the refueling, because Turo's going to charge the guest $10 for that inconvenience that you run into. But it's also going to slow you down because now you got to detail it, right? And you got to now pass by the gas station and fill it up. Now, what I do when it comes to detailing the cars and getting clean, sometimes I'll take it to the car wash, depending how much, the turnaround time I have. If I have a day, I'll clean it myself. It saves me money, and you want to save money when you're running your side hustle, so it's more money in your pocket. Now, sometimes I got to do it so quickly that I don't really have time for that. If the car's in really bad condition, I got to run it through the wash, and I got to spend that money. Luckily, the car wash near me has free vacuums. It has a plan that you can just pay $5, and that's what I use. I use the most economical one. Now, I'll get the car ready and I turn around. So this is something that you can run into. This is why I'm saying the trip preference and that buffer is very important, because you're sometimes going to get bookings that they need the car right away. So if you can't really turn the car the same day, because again, you're operating by yourself, or that you're 9 to 5, or you have kids or whatever, you're going to know that better than anyone else. Then go on trip preference and check and click on a buffer that's really going to work for you. So you're setting up yourself for success. Also, remember, when you're booking out your car, there are going to be guests that have questions. Now, what I try to do for every guest, I try to answer all their questions in advance. And as you get on the platform and you start doing Turo, you're going to get familiar with some of the questions because they happen to be often. For example, where's the gas button? Some cars, they got the button in different positions. Some cars don't have it, but you got to let the guests know. They might not know. You got to assume that they don't know. So I tell them in the description, I have a big long descriptions that get sent to the guest with the instructions on the gas, what fuel it takes, and things like that. To you, it might be common sense. Oh, I know the car takes regular. Oh, I know that car takes premium. But some guests don't know. Sometimes, even though it's not a luxury car, some guests still are not sure if the car takes regular or not. So I try to answer all this. And I know this because I've been doing Turo for over 2 years. So I'm already familiar with common questions. Common questions: what gas does the car take? Where's the gas button? If there's tolls where you live, how do I get through the toll? So I pay with pocket. Is the car, have a transponder for that? With me, I do have a transponder. I tell the guests this. I tell them, look, go through all the tolls that you need to do, and I'll bill you when we get the car back. That way, they don't have anything to worry on the trip, and it's easy and comfortable for them. But again, these are common questions. And even though I text it to them, they don't read it all the time. And they'll text message me later. I got to respond quickly. Sometimes I can solve the problem with a text message. Hey, don't worry, the car has a transponder, go through the tolls. Sometimes, depending on the person, I got to pick up the phone and we have to talk on the phone, and I walk them through it. But one of the things on my page on Turo, I have all 5 stars. The reason is I'm always paying attention to my phone. I want to answer any guest that's booking a car with me. I want to answer any concern as quickly as possible. Also, emergencies arise, and it's important to be aware of this, because a lot of people just hear all the positive stories about being on Turo, and they don't know the negatives that also comes with doing the side hustle. Like anything in life, you're going to have pros and cons. And Turo's going to have plenty of pros, and it's also going to have cons. One of the cons is anytime you put a car on the road and you give it to someone, right, you run risk of that car being in an accident, something happening to the car getting towed, and so on. I'm going to go over some of the things that's happened to me. I've actually had someone book a car at the airport because they flew it here into Orlando. They needed to go to Miami because they're going to a concert. They drove the car there and they got it towed. Right? I get that call, the car's towed. Guess where I'm at? I'm at work. I had to leave work. Okay. So I had to leave work early. So that's a huge inconvenience. They paid for me to get over there. Okay. Because the tow company would not release the car unless the owner of the vehicle, which was me, was there and showed proof of that. So I had to go all the way out there, show proof. They paid to get the car out and they got the car back. It all worked out, but there was a lot of inconvenience. And that could have been worse than how it worked. It actually worked out pretty well in the sense I was able to get out of work early, even though it was an inconvenience. They paid for me to get a car. I didn't want to use my personal car, so I got a rental car to drive out there because they got the car towed. They paid the fees to get the car out, and they drove the car back. The car was in good condition, and I got the car back. Now, it could have been a lot worse. They could have said, I'm not paying for that. They could have been difficult to deal with. Luckily, that was not the case, but those definitely are possibilities. Luckily, that's only happened to me once, but it did happen. I've also had guests where they damage the car and they don't tell you. And you find out when you go pick up the car and they deny it. And you have to go through that whole process. Usually in that case, if they don't want to take ownership, that's why it's going to be very important that you take all the photos before. That way you have proof of how you parked the car if you're doing contactless like me. Even if you're doing it with them, you still want to take all the pictures because that's your proof. Look, the car's in perfect condition. Now they bring the car back and there's damage. You're gonna obviously you have proof that when you gave it to them or dropped it off, it had no damage. They took the car and they brought it back and now there's damage. If they didn't take pictures, because believe it or not, some people don't take any pictures, right? So now they're you don't know anything, right? They say, oh, that happened when I dropped it off. How do you know? They didn't take any pictures. You have to go based on proof. So when I come to pick up the car, I take a ton of pictures. If I see any damage, I will let the guest know, hey, I went to go pick up the car. I noticed, for example, the front bumper has some scratches and a small dent. What happened? Can you tell me? If they deny it, they don't want to take any ownership, then I just put the claim to Turo. The important thing is you want to cover yourself by following the terms of service, by taking the pictures. I take a ton of them. Always recommend that. That way, if something did happen, you're going to get paid either by the guest or by Toro, and that's really what you care. You want to get paid for the damages. But these are things that happen by being a Toro host that are not so sexy, you can say, right? Nobody wants to find out, hey, the car got towed. Hey, the car got scratched. The car came back dirty. I had to turn around the car. But this is part, this is the life of being a host. These are things that happen. These are the times that you're not, it's not the exciting moments, but it's important to be aware that if you are on Toro, you are going to run into these situations. Sometimes you get so comfortable because you start Toro, nothing's happening negative. You're having no issues. You're like, oh, wow, this is easy. Nothing ever goes wrong. And boom, that's when you get surprised and something happens. Now I'm giving you the tips. If you're going to go on Toro, go on that trip preference and select the buffer that works for you. Very important. Okay, very, very important. Also, make sure if deliveries works for you or not. If deliveries don't work for you, then just have people come pick up the car at your house. If you're not comfortable with them picking the car up at your house, then find a location where you want to drop off the car that works for you. Remember, know that some of these cars, when you get your car back, sometimes it's going to be clean, sometimes it's going to be really dirty. So prepare, to have a plan to clean it, how you're going to clean it. If you're going to do a short window buffer like I do, sometimes you got to, if you do deliveries like I do to like an airport, you might be wondering, well, how do you fix it? How do you turn the car around so quickly? I have a small vacuum, a portable vacuum. I take it with me. I take some rags and I go down there. The car's not that bad. I literally drive it out. I go to a gas station. I just clean it all there in the parking lot really quick, and I'll take it back. Now, if the car's really, really bad, then that sucks, and I'll have to then obviously bring it home or take it to the car wash. But this is the life of being a host. So hopefully I gave you an insight of the reality. Hopefully this helps you, and I'll give you a rundown again. Be prepared to have a window buffer that works for you, because cars sometimes get booked right after a trip ends. So just keep that in mind. Also, know that sometimes these cars don't always come back clean. Sometimes they come a mess. Remember, emergencies can happen. They got a flat tire, the car got towed, they want to reach you. Very important that you keep that phone on you, or they just have a concern that you can just message them and solve right there. That's why you gotta always have your phone if you're gonna do this. If you're someone that can't have your phone on you, you might not want to do Turo because you gotta pay attention to your bookings. You gotta be organized. You gotta have the car ready to go when the car's booked. You don't want to be canceling bookings because that's gonna look bad on your Turo page and you get you kicked off Turo, which you wouldn't want. So remember all these things, and that's the life of being a Toro host. You got the good, you got the bad, but at the end, for me, at least it's been worth it. I think it definitely could be worth it for you. So if you're thinking about doing it, I should say, hey, give it a shot. Now that's just my opinion. Just remember the risk. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you didn't, please smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave some comments down below and check out the description box. I put some important links in there that could really help you on Toro if you're going to sign up or if you're already a host. Again, thanks for watching.